Yo, yo, yo.
What is up?
What's good?
Man, excited, bro. About to do a little SEC preview. Got my boys back here in the house divided. Traceland, Brandon Hill. We jumping right into this thing. We're going to talk about the top 8 teams in what is now a 16-team conference, starting with the 8th-ranked team. And we're doing this based off of ranking. So we're going to start from worst to first, apparently, to the media. And at that 8 spot is the OU Sooners. So, B Hill, I'm going to kick it off to you. We're going to talk about the 8th-ranked OU Sooners, apparently, in the SEC conference.
Can I start this off by saying they're absolutely talking shit whenever they put us at number 8? Come on now. Let's just be real, man. I'm not saying that we're number 1 in this conference by any means. I'm not saying that. But to put us at number 8, man, come on. We're behind the likes of like Tennessee. We're behind Missouri. We're behind LSU. This isn't the teams from last season. I want everybody to keep that in mind. There is a lot of talented teams in this SEC, but I think that Jackson Arnold, coming into his second season, his first real season as the quote-unquote starter at Oklahoma, man, and then you look around him, I mean, there's a bevy of weapons there. You got Deion Burks out of the transfer portal. You got Nick Anderson over there. Still got Jalil Farouk. I mean, dude, the list just keeps going on. Jaden Gibson, I like Brendan Thompson to be a big pickup this season. I'm just going to throw that out there as far as like a deep threat type of guy. He's got real burners. In the backfield, you're going to have Gavin Sawchuk, Javante Barnes. Do we see some of Taylor Tatum in his freshman year? I don't think so, because I think a Khalif Hicks steps in front of a Tatum in the pecking order. I'm just being real on that, in my opinion. The defense, you got Dominic Williams in the transfer portal from TCU. You still have DeJoun Terry. So the middle, they're real beefy, man. They're going to be ready for that SEC. On the outside, you got PJ Adebore coming into his second year. You also have Ethan Downs. I mean, that linebacker core is second to none. The safeties are second to none. Secondary is in good hands. Trace, am I crazy here to think that putting us at number 8 is just a complete slap in the face and it's disrespectful?
Yes, it is. And we'll get to the other new team in this conference, but I agree with B Hill. I'll be shocked if this team doesn't finish top 4. I'll be shocked. Honestly.
I agree.
I think Ole Miss, who we'll get to in a bit, we talked about Missouri, we talked about Tennessee. LSU is not 2019 LSU. We seem to forget that.
Right.
Brent Venables is a defensive mastermind. We saw the jump from year 1 to year 2. It's a complex defense, hard for guys to figure out as they're playing for him. But once they get it figured out, you see what happened at Clemson, K-State when he was back there. Jackson Arnold is my question mark right now. Not saying he's going to be a bad ball player. I think he's got a lot to learn as a quarterback, just a gunslinger type. But, I mean, it's OU. Let's not get it twisted. I don't care who it is, what it is. I know you got all these narratives about the SEC and big dogs. I mean, shoot, you look at the SEC every year is 2 top dogs, and you get a 3rd wild card every now and again, and everyone else gets whooped in the bowls.
Yep.
You know, and so it's not this big, bad, evil thing like we think it is. And so, like B Hill said, I'll be shocked if they finish outside of the top 5 in the SEC.
Yep.
That's really
I love it.
All I
I
got.
love it. I like it.
love that take. I love it.
All right. My player to watch on that team will probably be Gavin Sawchuk. I think as he goes, you guys will go. So if he's in the running for SEC Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, I think you guys will for sure be a top 4 team. So,
and that's a great take, Corey, because Seth Luttrell, the new offensive coordinator, for those that don't know, he's a run-first type coordinator.
Yeah.
This is going to be a different type of offense. It's still going to be a little bit more up-paced, but they're going to slow things down and be able to punch some people in the mouth and try to ground and pound for sure.
Yeah, and I didn't mention, but I have a player to watch from OU that nobody's really talking about, even OU fans. There's a guy by the name of Bauer Sharp. He's a tight end, transferred from Stetson. He obviously wasn't preseason All SEC, anything like that. When we get to this postseason SEC, All SEC, I wouldn't be surprised to see him on that 2nd or 3rd team.
There's another kid too at the running back position that was a transfer, Sam Franklin.
Yep.
He was from another small school. He's at the running back position. He did some special things at his last school. So we'll see, man. We'll see. It's the only question mark to me, the biggest question mark, and if it doesn't get fixed, is the offensive line.
Yeah.
That is definitely a question mark. We don't necessarily lack experience. We just lack guys that haven't played together. And in the offensive line, if you're not a cohesive unit, that can lead to problems. I'm hoping that's not the case, but that's really the only red alert that I see on this whole entire roster.
And I have seen a lot of fans on Twitter. Obviously, we're all over OU Twitter, you and me, B Hill. So we see a lot of the people that don't know a lot about ball talking to either we're going to win the national championship or we're going to win 5 games, whatever. And they talk about the O-line. I think a lot of people have discounted Bill Bedenbaugh's what he is as a coach. Now, is he a top-tier recruiter? Not necessarily. He's a top-tier developer.
Yep.
Go look at the guys that came in under him, and he got to transfer in, Anton Harrison, Wanye Morris, guys like that. They weren't first-round draft picks when they got to OU. He developed those guys like we could see with Spencer Brown from Michigan State, where he came to OU knowing he got 1 year left. He needs to get the quickest development possible and hopefully get a chance to get his name called. And so I think, it is a question mark because we don't know these guys yet. It's a lot of new faces, but I'm not necessarily concerned at this moment.
I'm not either. We'll be all right.
Yep.
Gotcha. Nice. All right, moving right along. Tennessee Volunteers, are they next on the list? Is that the number 17?
Yep.
All right, the Tennessee Vols, old Coach Heupel. B. Hill, you want to start this one off?
I like what Heupel's done with this football team, man. That defensive line that they have, I can't sit here and name the whole defensive line, but I will tell you guys this, and y'all are probably already aware. A defensive line that Tennessee has is the real deal, man. They got some draft picks that are on that line that are going to play at the next level for certain. So that's going to be a problem. Nico, the quarterback, man, coming into his second season here. I'm interested to see what that kid's going to do, man. He's got all the hype. He's got all the talent in the world. To see what he's going to do is going to be very, very interesting. And that's ultimately, that's where it's all going to lie here for Tennessee. They're going to have a good defense. We all know that, but you're going to have to be able to score points to keep up in the SEC. And I think that the development of Nico is going to be a huge key to the Volunteers' success this season.
Yeah. I agree. B. Hill, they got the projected number 1 draft pick, James Pierce. He's 6'5", 255, and runs a 4.47. He's just a beast. Their back end is a little shaky, but they've got athletes there, which you need in the SEC. They've got track speed all around. It's Josh Heupel's done a great job in terms of recruiting for not a historically great program in terms of championships and things of that caliber. I think it boils down kind of like what I said with OU. It boils down to the quarterback position. You got a young quarterback, 5 stars. He was number 1 or number 2 on every recruiting site known to man. And it's interesting because of what Heupel's offense is. So Heupel's offense is almost the opposite of a pro offense. That's why I'll be interested to see not only his development at Tennessee, but how scouts view his development as he gets closer to the draft. But I don't see them, I could see them finishing 7 in the SEC. I don't see them higher than maybe squeak out a few wins and sneak into that 5 spot maybe, but I see them getting closer to the 9th spot than the 5th spot. So they're about on pace. They're not a top dog, but they're not a bottom feeder. I think they're kind of stuck in the middle, and then they'll go as Nico goes.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
7-8 win team, maybe 9 at best.
Yep.
Man, it's an interesting year for him too, because you think about 2 years ago, they were the number 1 team in the country for a little bit. Mm-hmm. They had that big game, that loss at Georgia. That kind of derailed that season. But if they can get back to that, man, It's gonna be hard though. It's gonna be hard for him. I agree with you guys.
Gonna be tough.
Who we got next? Missouri?
Yep.
Missouri.
No Missouri Tigers. B Hill. You got some hate in your heart for this one. We've been talking off air a little bit. I'm gonna let you start this one off.
But man, they basically they stole one of our tackles. He was pretty good, Caden Green. Ended up transferring over there. They paid that guy a crap ton of money. He went back home. Whatever, it is what it is. If you keep up with Twitter though, there is a lot of Missouri Tiger fans online that they seem to forget those years when Oklahoma basically owned them. I mean, if you look at the overall thing, and granted, this is an SEC show, so I'm going to try my best to not talk about every team that OU is going to play whenever we go down this list. But the Missouri Tigers, man, they just need to learn and remember who Daddy is, okay? Because last year was an anomaly. I do not see the Missouri I see the Missouri Tigers finishing in the bottom half of this conference as opposed to the top half of this conference. I don't think that you're getting that same kind of performance out of that quarterback that they had. I mean, Drinkowitz, the damn head coach, man, he was on the hot seat coming into last season. They had to do what they had to do last year. And congratulations. You won a damn bowl game that didn't mean anything. You still ain't did nothing, okay? So, Missouri, bottom half of the league team. There ain't nothing else I got to say about this.
Yeah, I agree. Brady Cook is quarterback. He's whatever. I do think they got a good receiver room. Luther Burden will be the number one receiver probably taken next year. They went out and paid Caden Green whatever it was that they paid him. He's got a ton of potential. I think he made the wrong decision in terms of development, like we talked about, but it's whatever. I think their defense is young, inexperienced. They don't have their hero from last year, the running back. Was the something Snyder, I think was his name, or Schrader or something along the lines.
Yeah,
Cody Schrader.
Cody Schrader.
Yeah,
he's gone, so he can't carry the rock 25 times a game. They don't have a cowbell running back. They're not a throw it around team for having like Luther Burden, Theo Weiss, and guys like that. And historically, again, you look at Missouri, it's like the best player ever is probably Chase Daniel. I don't know. You ask him about Oklahoma too. So,
right.
Jeremy Macklin.
They're getting a lot of love because they kind of squeaked their way into some real. I mean, they were quality wins last year against the SEC least, but they didn't beat any of these powerhouses. They played a close game with Georgia, if I remember correctly.
They played a close one with LSU too and lost that one. So
right, and then it wasn't. They weren't the SEC world beaters. They weren't going out there and beating Bama, beating Georgia, any of those cats. So I think they're getting overhyped. I don't think they have the roster to make a run at all. 6 is way, way too high for me personally. But we'll see. I'm not nearly as high on them as the rest of the media seems to be.
No.
I think it could be more of a byproduct of the rest of the conference not being as good. So, I mean, that can play into it too. And I think there's a lot of respect to that coach, that head coach from Missouri. So I think that's what's playing into that. But I would agree with you guys. I'd be shocked if they made it to the SEC championship. Remember that one year they made it to the SEC championship?
Second year.
Yeah, second year in the league. That was crazy. All right. Who we got next?
That was 2014.
Then we got LSU.
LSU next?
LSU.
Man. Champions from 2019, the LSU Tigers sitting in the 5th hole right here, the 5th spot. B Hill, start this one off.
I mean, dude, this team last year went as Jaden Daniels went. Let's just call it what it is. The games that they did win, it was because he did some spectacular things. They still lost to the teams that mattered, though. And here's the thing, man. I'm not hating on LSU. I think that they're going to be a good team. I really, really do. I just think that they get a little bit too much hype because Brian Kelly ain't never did a damn thing no matter where he's at. So all this love and everything for LSU that the national media seems to keep just talking. I just don't think Brian Kelly's that guy. I just don't. I mean, the roster, it's not really that good either. I mean, who is it? Nussmeier at quarterback, if I'm not mistaken?
One of them. Yeah.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, come on, man. What are we really talking about here? I think that they're fifth, sixth type team in the conference. I think that their defense, they have some good players on defense. Other than that, though, I'm not real big on LSU, man. This is just kind of like you talk about these teams in the SEC, man. Really, the only team that's like should be beating their chest saying that they're national championship ready is Georgia. Let's just be real, man. So that's where I'm at with LSU.
Yeah, I think I think LSU maybe about on par with what B Hill said, a little bit higher possibly. I think something big to note with them is that the Missouri defensive coordinator actually is now the defensive coordinator at LSU.
Yeah, that's
and in terms of on-paper athlete, LSU has got it much better than Missouri does, especially on the defensive end. I think we're going to see Harold Perkins kind of return to form when he was getting talked about as a top 5 pick. They had, he was an edge rusher as a freshman. And then last year they bring him in and they want him to be an off-the-ball linebacker. It's not what he is. And so I would assume that Blake Baker, puts Perkins back in his spot where he's best, and that'll make a big difference, and it'll, raise his draft stock a lot. I think if you put Jaden Daniels on this team with this staff, we're talking about a legit contender.
yes.
But too little, too late for this team. You don't have Jaden Daniels, like we said. You have Noose, you got a couple of guys behind him that are all very unproven. He's got the pieces around him, but you lost big playmakers as well. Now LSU at the receiver position seems to just reload, so I'm sure we'll have some guys emerge, but I see them hovering around maybe that 5 or 6 spot, outside of some exceptional quarterback play. So that's really all I got.
I would agree.
All right. Fun fact about LSU: Saban, Miles, Orgeron all won a national championship in their third year at LSU. 2003 for Saban, 2007 for Miles, 2019 for Orgeron. This is the third year of the Kelly era. LSU's always got enough talent. It's one of the hotbeds. New Orleans has been one of those places where LSU just dominates. New Orleans is also a city per capita that has the most players in the NFL. I don't know. That was like 5 years ago. That might have changed. But if you're a good coach, you can win a championship at LSU. 3 different coaches have done it since 2003. And it takes a couple years. So we'll see what the third year looks like for old Kelly down there in Baton Rouge. All right.
Ole Miss.
Where are they at in national rankings? Has that come out, or is this
no? It hasn't yet.
They'll be top 10. They'll be top 10.
Yes, they're number 5 on NCAA football for anybody who cares. So B Hill, I'm gonna let you start this one off. The Ole Miss Rebels.
Lane Kiffin has himself a monster this year. Let's just call it what it is. You got Jackson Dart, who is he's a top 5 quarterback in the nation, coming back. They also got Walter Nolan on the defensive line from Texas A&M. That was a hell of a get. I mean, the transfer portal, they had players for days.
Left and right.
I think they had one of the best transfer portal classes in the nation as well. So Lane Kiffin just basically took this team, he reloaded it. This thing is primed for SEC championship type level play. Now with Nick Saban out of the conference too, I think Lane Kiffin sees this as an opportunity for him to kind of take himself up there to that second best coach type of status, because let's just be real, he's not passing Kirby Smart. I think Georgia's still the class of this conference. But Ole Miss, man, they're tough. They're really, really tough, and they're going to be very, very good. I look at their schedule, man, and I mean, me and Corey, we did a preview for OU, kind of just breaking down their schedule and everything, I had Ole Miss as a loss. So they're a very, very talented football team. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do this year.
Yeah, I think this one, I'm not as high on them as B Hill, but I'm not going to sit here and say that they're just trash. I think 4 is about a good spot for them. Where Lane Kiffin has struggled in the past is when he goes and plays those big top dogs, or when it's a really physical defense, which you get a lot in the SEC. Obviously, they can score points with anybody. I think something that we'll see that will hurt them this year is the loss of Quinshon Judkins.
Mhm.
You know, he's a tough guy to replace because he's that good, but also I got to give it a slight knock because it's a running back position. You know, especially SEC, you can go get one whenever you want, wherever you want. You know, it's easy to replace. So I think they're about 4. You know, they're going to beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, and they're probably going to lose to the teams they're supposed to lose to. You know, I think their ceiling is, I guess, an SEC championship berth. Their floor is about, you know, finishing 6th. I think they're
Okay.
right where they're supposed to be. Yeah, I don't have much for Ole Miss besides that.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm a little higher on them than you are, it sounds like. But,
Yeah.
hey, that's all right. That's all right.
You just got to think one of these years, Lane Kiffin's going to figure it out, man. He's been
Yes, he's
coaching
going
for a
to.
long time. He's been at a lot of spots, the Raiders, Tennessee Volunteers, the USC Trojans. He's got a hell of a lot of experience. Coach under Nick Saban in Alabama. I would just think one of these years it's going to click for him and his team. This might be it. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Is it
Bama.
Texas, Georgia, or Bama?
Bama.
Bama.
Wow, Bama getting picked 3rd preseason in the SEC. Go ahead, Bill.
I mean, Nick Saban's not there no more, man. He's not there. You don't have Daddy Nick there anymore. Even though he's not there, though, this is still a very talented football team. They got Jalen Milroe, who's arguably one of the better quarterbacks in the conference. What they did last year, I think that they're going to kind of move forward with that as well. Caleb DeBoer, man, he's a hell of a football coach. Nick Saban leaving, yes, that's the GOAT. Nobody's ever going to argue that. But if you have Nick Saban leaving and you get to replace it with a Caleb DeBoer, I mean, dude, the dude coached Washington to the college football playoff. Michael Penix Jr. saved his career because of what Michael DeBoer did for him. What do you think he's about to do with a Jalen Milroe quarterback?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So I like the pickup of Caleb DeBoer for Alabama, and they had a lot of players that did leave via the portal. Okay, so the receiver room is it's a little questionable. It's not Bama-esque like when Nick Saban was there. Let's just be real and call it what it is. I got them finishing top 4 in this conference, but I don't think that they're going to make the SEC championship game this year. What do you say, Trace?
Yeah, I know the Saban is a big loss, right? Obviously, he's the greatest, I think, undisputed, right, amongst us, undisputed college football coach in the history of the sport. 7 national championships. Is that what he finished with?
7 or 8. It's 7 or 8.
I don't think you could replace him with someone better other than potentially the Dan Lanning. But you look at DeBoer. DeBoer is, as a head coach at the Division I level, is 116-12.
No, he's a beast. He's a beast.
Right? And so that's insane. So you got guys that just win, right? And so you bring a more offensive minded guy into a room with Jalen Milroe, who, as we know, is an absolute freak in nature, who's kind of struggled as organized structure around him. He's had a lot of change around him in his time. And so it's been hard for him to grasp an offensive concept. No one better than Kalen DeBoer. He's, you know, Milroe is Penix, but athletic, you know, like athletic freak.
Yeah.
Kind of a longer throwing motion, but big, strong, athletic. to say there's no drop off would be silly because it's Alabama. We hold them to a certain standard still. To say that they are at the same level as they have been the last 2 years, which hasn't necessarily been the Bama standard, is where
Right.
I'm going with this. I
Right.
do think there's little drop off in terms of where they have been recently, outside of the bias that we have of them winning every national championship. I see them in the SEC championship or fighting for a spot. So I think top 3 is rightfully deserved with this group.
Okay. Okay. I like it.
Interesting, man. It was the team that was about a minute away last year from winning a national title. If they hold on to that 20-13 lead, they don't give up that late drive to Michigan, they're in the national title game, and I'm betting that they beat Washington pretty good. So
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean? It's just a little bit. They lost the game, and history's different. So, all right, Texas, I'm assuming is picked second. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Shorthorns, as B Hill will call them. Go ahead, B Hill, take off.
I don't understand the complete bias. I just don't get it. And this isn't me hating, man. Let's be real. Texas has a very, very good roster. They recruit with the absolute best of them. I mean, they have 5 stars across the board on this roster. Their defense, Anthony Hill Jr. at linebacker coming into his second year, I think is going to be one of the absolute best defensive players in all of America.
Mm-hmm.
He's an absolute stud. You can't take that away from him. I just don't think that Quinn Ewers is the guy that everybody likes to make Quinn Ewers out to be. And this is not hate, okay? So I want this to be very, very clear. What has he shown us since he's been there? Can somebody please tell me? What has he done? That was not him that got him to that game last year in that college football playoff. I'm sorry. That was all of the talent around him, okay? Another thing that I want to note on Texas, a lot of people just think because you went and got the receiver from Alabama, you went and got this tight end from Alabama, you went and got all these players, right? Okay, we're just going to plug and play and everything's just going to go good. Jonathan Brooks was a first-round S-type running back. He's not there no more. He's gone. Okay, you lost Xavier Worthy. You lost Adonai Mitchell. You lost all those players. You're basically, you just dipped into the portal, and we just think that just because Sark coached them and recruited Alabama that they're just going to work, right? That's how this is going to go. It's just going to be flawless. Watching the spring game for Texas, another thing I want to point out, that secondary is weak. Okay, it's very, very weak on that back end, and you don't lose a Byron Murphy and a Sweat in the middle on those trenches and think that the next guy up's just going to be better. I'm sorry, I just don't think that. I got Texas, man. They're going to be up there fighting with the best of them in this conference because they are a very talented roster. I just think that Quinn Ewers is going to be one of the reasons that drops them down a little bit because I'll tell you this, they're going to lose to Oklahoma again. You can book that. And they're going to lose to Georgia, and that's in back-to-back weeks. Those 2 losses in the middle of the season are going to be gut-wrenching for them.
Yeah, and I think kind of on that point, B Hill, another thing to bring up with the Texas Shorthorns, they play Michigan week 2.
Yep.
That's no easy feat. We know we know it was close to Bama last year.
Here's something I want to point out on that, and then I'll let you continue. I apologize to interrupt. Michigan, though, man, that's not the Michigan of last season. Okay.
Oh, I agree.
They lost McCarthy, they lost Corum, they lost a lot of production from that national championship team. So I just want to say this and quote, because I got Texas picked to beat them in that game. I think that they will go in there and I think they'll get that W. And that's going to be the national media is going to just vault Texas all the way to the top from that. And I just think it's going to be a little bit of fool's gold. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, for sure. Week 2, it was, they kind of got lucky with McCarthy gone. They don't really have a quarterback that they've picked. I think it'll be Alex Orji, but we'll see at Michigan. And so it's going to be like we're still finding out who we are with Sharon Moore, with Harbaugh gone. But, they won the national championship. Texas is going to win. Hoopla. They lost Jalen Catalon, who was a starter at safety for them. I'm looking here. They They brought in Isaiah Bond, who he was what he was at Alabama. I wasn't very high on him. They lost Kendrick Blackshire, who was a stud linebacker for him. They lost Samaje Burrell, Katon Crawford, all guys that played meaningful snaps. Isaiah Nair, who came over from Wyoming. So for as much as they brought in, they almost lost an equal amount. And then you talk about Xavier Worthy's gone, A.D. Mitchell, Jatavion Sanders, Jonathan Brooks. You do have what's the left tackle? He's a freak.
Kelvin Banks.
Kelvin Banks will be a top 10 pick.
They have arguably one of the best lines in all of college football.
Right.
They do.
But this is the same. It's the same as the guys right up the road from them. Dallas Cowboys. What is it? They got the best paper on roster. We're going to win the national championship. This, and that. Texas is back. Texas is this. Texas is that. Prove it to me.
Yep.
And until you do, sorry. I don't. Yep. I'm much lower on them than I think even B Hill. They kind of got the cupcake SEC schedule, to be honest with you, outside of like the 2 or 3 games that we've already mentioned. I still don't think they're fighting for it. I don't think they're in the race, to be honest with you. I think they drop. Wow. I think they probably lose 4 games.
Okay. I hope you're right. I really do.
And I may be a hater. Hey, I may be a hater, but every year they got the best paper roster. That's why you play the game, right? Yep. And so they were supposed to blow us out like they did the year before. Last year they were supposed to, just kill us, and you see what happens. Jatavion Sanders get
smoked. He got smoked
in the chest by Billy Bowman, and then
rocked that boy.
Yeah, we see what happens.
I love it. No, I love it, man. And that Red River game, first year SEC.
Oh yeah.
Just imagine, man. Both teams undefeated. Okay. Yeah. All this national media and everything that's been talking all this about Texas. I could see Oklahoma possibly being a top 10 team in that game, but I could also see Oklahoma not being top 10, even if we're undefeated, just because 14, that's what 15. They do. But let's just play like Texas will be like top 3.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Number 2, number 3, something like that. Yeah, that's exactly how I want it. I love it. Couldn't ask for anything more.
Yeah, see you in Dallas.
Yep.
Sark has been on record saying this is his best team that he's ever coached. So
I'm so glad and so happy.
It's the most talented team he said he's ever had.
Sark finally won 10 games as a head coach. I'm so happy for you, man. You put down the booze and see what happens. Looky there. There you go, bud.
All right. Last but not least, Georgia, who did not make the CFP last year. Alabama and Texas did, the 2 and 3 team preseason. So Georgia, two straight national titles, and they missed a year last year after what, losing 1 game, I believe.
Yeah.
The SEC championship.
Yep.
All right, B Hill, take off.
They're hungry and they're ready, and if you wanted to ask me who I would put all my money on to win the whole damn thing, it's the Georgia Bulldogs. Carson back there at quarterback. Again, he's one of the Heisman favorites this season. Kirby Smart never disappoints when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. Georgia is number 1 or number 2 in recruiting damn near every single season. They have a stockhold and a plethora of players over there that are going to be first-round NFL draft picks, second-round NFL draft picks. They got guys all over the field. Georgia is the SEC champions next year. Let's just call it what it is. Georgia will win the whole thing. That's my opinion, man. I don't have to name players' names just because I know Georgia has talent over there, and Georgia they're going to be pissed because of what happened to them last season. They're going to be pissed.
Yeah, I mean, to hear someone say 3 out of 4 national championships, it wouldn't shock me at all, to be honest with you. I think even though I'm not necessarily picking them as my favorite, I think I'm trying to be different, and I'm getting bored of picking Georgia every year. I don't get the hype behind Carson Beck yet, with him getting now as much media love as he has. I just don't see it, to be honest. I think
Right.
the production was lower than people think with the team that was much better than people give it credit for. They are stacked at the tight end position per always. Offensive line stacked as always. They went and got ETN out of the portal. Defense, we don't have to even – it's no question, right? I don't care who it is. There's just dogs everywhere, literally, no pun intended. I'm sorry.
Yep.
They've got Malachi Starks, probably the best safety in the country outside of Caleb Downs.
Yep.
Oscar Delp will be probably the first tight end taken off the board in April. They're either going to win the SEC championship and the national championship, or lose in the SEC championship and be in the playoff and be fighting probably in the championship game. So I'm very, very high on them. They have the experience. They've got everyone back from a team that's now pissed off because they lost one game and didn't make the playoff. The dog should be on top, rightfully so. Kirby Smart's that man, so on and so forth.
He is. He's
nothing
gonna
to add to that.
He's the only one. He's the only one that can knock on Nick Saban's door, man. And he ain't there yet. He ain't knocking. I'm not saying he's knocking, but we might have to start talking about something. He wins 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Because it don't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. I mean, hell, you go look at the recruiting rankings right now. I believe Georgia's number 1.
Yeah, in
if I'm not
25
mistaken.
and 26 classes.
So, come on.
It's ridiculous.
Let's go.
It's ridiculous. They spend more money on recruiting than anybody, I think, in the country is what I heard.
I don't necessarily know if they necessarily spend a whole lot of money. I mean, they're definitely spending money, but it's the name, man. People are going to go play at Georgia because they know if you're a top-tier player, even if you only play 1-2 seasons there, you're going to the league.
You're going to get drafted, yeah.
Yep.
Which is funny,
right.
That's kind of the turn that I'm talking about when I bring up DeBoer to Saban. It's like, right, as Kirby was always a good coach, right? Great coach. But once he took that turn from like here to here is when you start to see those Saban teams struggle against him. And he's the only one, I believe, that ever beat Saban as a head coach. Anyone a Saban's assistant that ever beat him. So he's something else, man.
Yep, I agree. All right, we got some SEC hot takes. Boys, you got your hot takes ready?
Yeah,
let's try to bang out 2 or 3 per person. We'll do one and just rotate through, and so don't give all your hot takes at once, I guess is what I'm saying. So B Hill, we're gonna start off with you, man. What's your first SEC hot take?
Oklahoma will win the SEC and Jackson Arnold will win Heisman.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
How you like me now? How you like me now? How you like me now?
Wow.
How you like me now? Hey, we said hot takes, right?
Yeah, you said hot.
Hey,
it don't get much hotter than that.
We got an optimist. I love it. Hey, if it happens, I'll be the first person to call you and say, "Hey, congratulations! I'm proud of you for calling it." Hot takes. We're starting off with it, man.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'll love it. That's all I'll say. If it happens, I'm glad.
Man, if that shit happens, I'm gonna be. That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. It'd be crazy. I would hate it. I can't live amongst y'all if y'all win the SEC in your first year and Jackson Arnold is the freaking Heisman winner, dog. I'm moving.
I'm just gonna tell you, my guy. You go back in history when OU gets doubted and they're low in the preseason polls and nobody's talking about them. That's usually the time when Sooner magic comes out.
That's true.
All right,
that is true.
It's usually how it works, man.
Trace, you're next. What's up?
South Carolina is losing 2 games this year.
Oh,
whoa.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. I think I'm looking at this schedule here. I think they lose to Oklahoma. And I think they lose to Alabama. I think they got a couple upsets in them. It's a very, very hot take. They play LSU. They play Ole Miss. They play Clemson. I say 2, give myself some room and say 3. I think they're going to be pretty good this year, to be honest with you. They got a young freshman quarterback, and I think, their whole staff is on the hot seat. So if they don't figure it out, they got freak athletes all around the field. They haven't recruited at the highest level, but I'm really high on them this year. They went and got Raheem Sanders from Arkansas, the running back, who he was hurt last year and didn't play. Watch out for the Gamecocks, man. They're my surprise team for this year.
Oh,
Shane
Beamer.
Beamer's still there.
Oh, Beamer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's gone. If he loses more than 3, they're looking for a new one.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, here's my first one. Ole Miss will win the SEC championship, and Jackson Dart will be your Heisman Trophy winner. I think this is the year, and I tried to hint at this earlier. I think this is the year that Lane Kiffin puts it all together. He's a portal king for a reason. He went out and got the best guys he can get, and I think he's ready to challenge. He's not going to have the best team, but I think the way he calls offense, he's one of the best offensive minds in the game. And I think somehow, some way, they're going to win the SEC championship.
All right.
I like that one. I like that one. I like that one.
Lost for words over
here. I got you something here. Quinn Ewers will not be the Texas starting quarterback by the end of the season. It will be Arch Manning.
Because of injury?
Nope.
Spencer Rattler, Caleb Williams?
Yep, that type of stuff. You're not going to pay a guy $2 million a year, $1 million, whatever they paying that boy, to sit on the bench. Let's just play this out, for instance. Let's say Quinn Ewers has a terrible game at Oklahoma, and then they lose to Georgia the following week.
You're going to hear the calls. You're going to hear the
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Man, I think that's unlikely, but it's not far off, bro. He's in that NCAA game, the NCAA college game.
He finally did that. He finally did.
Yeah. Ooh, bro. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
That
would be wild, but it's likely. It's not far fetched. It wouldn't be the craziest QB change.
No. I hope it happens. I want to see it.
Yeah, according to the new game, he's the best backup in the country.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Jesus Christ. The glazing for this guy, man.
You name him John Smith, he's a 2-star, but don't get me started.
Dude, if we want to be real, the only Manning that ever did a damn thing was Peyton. I mean, Eli just had great defenses. Let's just be real.
Yep.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
All right, Trace, what you got? Yeah.
All right. Since we are going on a Heisman run here, I'm going to give you guys my hot take Heisman pick. I'm going to go with Connor Weigman from the University of Texas A&M.
Holy
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Why?
So you bring Mike Elko in as the head coach. You get kind of some of that toxicity out that lingered around with all the Jimbo stuff and him making $1 billion a day. You bring Elko in, who you saw what he did with Riley Leonard at Duke.
It's true.
I think Weigman is going to end up a top 3 quarterback taken in April. I think he's got the receivers. He's got Moose Muhammad. He's got couple of guys, at the receiver position. Their offensive line's pretty stout. I don't expect them to be very good, to be honest with you. I think they finish around the 6-7 mark in the SEC because it's still A&M. But I'm really, really high on Weigman. So, yeah, he is my offensive player of the year for the conference and my hot take Heisman Trophy winner.
Okay.
All right. I'm not going to enjoy doing this one, but this has crossed my mind. This is a true hot take, man. And I don't like calling for people's jobs or saying they might get fired, but I think Tennessee's going to go into Norman and beat y'all in y'all's first SEC game. And I think Josh Heupel will be the coach at OU next year.
Oh.
Whoa.
Yes.
That ain't happening. I
think you guys are going to have a down year. I think they're going to go get Josh Heupel.
They just
That's
extended that man, bro.
crazy.
They
Hey.
just extended him.
That's the name of the game right there. I
Yes.
honestly, I wouldn't love it, but
I don't
if
think
I had
that's
to
happening.
pick somebody, hype would
That that's a crazy take. That ain't no hot take. That's a crazy take. That's
I've
crazy.
had that thought like 4 or 5 times. I was like, man, if they go in there and beat OU, what if they just was like, hey, let's go get, bring Josh
Sign and
Heupel
trade.
home.
If
Sign and
that
trade.
if that happened, Lincoln Riley be lining up to come back, man. He's thinking about that he made a mistake over there.
He's not
Nah.
welcome in our
there's
state.
no coming
I
back
don't
from
know.
that.
No.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. It was a joke. All right.
Go ahead. On the Heupel thing, well, how did he exit? What happened with that?
They ended up getting rid of Bob Stoops. Got rid of him, man. We were stagnant on offense, and then they brought Lincoln Riley in 2015.
So we had in a matter of three seasons, C Hill, we had Heupel was a co-offensive coordinator with Kevin Wilson, and then we got Lincoln. So we had Kevin Wilson, who we know is at TU now, but was the offensive coordinator at Ohio State for the last 4 years, I believe. We had Heupel, who is what he is now, and then Lincoln Riley as the last few guys to call plays before Levy. And now we've got Levy, who's a head coach. So it's like an automatic pipeline right now. It's like, go to OU, call plays, score a bunch, go be a head coach.
My last hot take that I got, we're just gonna keep continuing my theme here that I have of Shorthorn hate. On Thanksgiving weekend, it's gonna be great to sit down with all our families and everything and eat some turkey, have some ham, mashed potatoes, a little gravy, some stuffing. And then it's gonna be nice to turn on the football and watch Texas A&M beat them Shorthorns. That's what's gonna happen. Rivalry renewed, bringing it back. It's going to be on Thanksgiving weekend. I believe it's Thanksgiving Day, if I'm not mistaken. I might have to double check on that. But I got the Texas A&M Aggies will upset the Texas Shorthorns.
I don't mind that at all.
I don't think anybody minds it.
It kind of goes in line with what I said. I'm a little bit higher, on A&M than the media is right now. I do like Elko. I will love if that happens. We can celebrate anytime Texas loses. We can celebrate. So, my last one here. This one's not nearly as hot as my other two. I think Auburn finishes second to last in the SEC.
Ooh, that's pretty hot. That's pretty hot.
They're bottom 8. Just a little background. So I always grew up an OU fan. My grandpa played there 64 to 68. Like, we grew up going to games, yada, yada. But, like, whenever I was, like, getting into football, I picked, like, a second team, and it was Michigan State. So I've always kept up with them, too, just for no reason. Peyton Thorne is the quarterback. He played at Michigan State for 3 seasons, just transferred to Auburn. He's on the top 5 worst quarterbacks to ever start a college football game. And they have nobody behind him. So it's going to be an absolute dumpster fire. Maybe 4 wins. I don't know. I mean, I think they're going to be terrible, like terrible. And then they'll play up against Bama and probably end up, losing by 10 or so. But they don't have the dogs in the fight. Like, their best player, it was the receiver out of the 5-star receiver that ended up going there, Cam Coleman.
Okay.
He's like their best player as a true freshman, which in the SEC, big bad Auburn, not going to do it.
Nope.
So I think it's Vanderbilt at the bottom very clearly, per usual. And then I think Auburn's right there finishing at 15.
They're going to be fighting with Arkansas down there, too, and Mississippi State.
Yeah. Arkansas, you know what? I may have to change that hot take second to last, because Arkansas is also going to be dog water. But
they're trash.
Yep.
And we couldn't get either one of them on our schedule. Oh, my gosh.
No. We got the real welcome to the SEC schedule.
We did.
Texas got the cakewalk, and we got, hey, we're about to find out. Night game in Death Valley. Go play Bama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, LSU.
Those final 3 weeks of the season is brutal. I'm not even lying.
Yeah,
you got to go to Columbia, over there with Missouri. Now, granted, we're going to beat them, but it's going to be a tough game. I mean, Missouri's going to give us all they got. Alabama, man. I mean, Bama and Norman. Whew. And then you got Death Valley. That's going to be a night game. Cap the season off. I mean, it's all going to depend where we're at and if we handle business up until that point to how big those games are really going to be. Mm-hmm. But, man, just looking at it, if we can handle business up until that, oh, my gosh. Oh, my. Yep.
All right, I guess my last one would be that I got Auburn. This is funny. Auburn winning the Iron Bowl. Not saying that they're going to be good in any kind of way. I just think that Kalen DeBoer's first year, he's going to have some lumps. I think that Hugh Freeze damn near pulled it off against Nick Saban this past year. I think he's going to go on the road, and they're going to beat the Alabama Crimson Tide in Alabama.
That's crazy. That is a hot take, though.
Hey.
That's hot.
We're on two ends of that spectrum, but you know what? Anything is possible.
Yep. Yeah.
All
right, B Hill, close us out, man.
Hey, as always, guys, it's been a pleasure. Hey, if everybody watching this thing, if you guys aren't subscribed to our YouTube channel, help us out. Subscribe to this thing. Drop down there, hit it. Tap the notification bell. Always drop down there in those comments. We want to hear from you guys. Also, too, hop on our TikTok, guys. Go like, go follow, go subscribe on the TikTok as well. Got Corey up here, man, is doing a lot of work on that TikTok. You guys have to go watch his fantasy football takes. If you guys want to be first in your league, go listen to this, man. He knows what he's talking about as far as that goes. Other than that, like, share, follow, do whatever y'all got to do to help this channel grow. Peace out, fellas.
Peace.